you give Rick a big hand as he comes to teach you about the shepherd tonight?
Hey, how's everybody doing? I am a shepherd all the way from the hills of Judea in first century Palestine. How I do it? I smell really bad. Thank you. I live with sheep. What can I say? I come to tell you guys of what I do, kind of about my vocation. I'm a shepherd. There have been shepherds on the hills of Palestine for thousands and thousands of years. In fact, ever since there was a nation of Israel, there's been shepherds because my forefather, Abraham, was a shepherd. He had sheep. Moses was a shepherd. He tended Jethro's flocks when he got exiled out of Egypt. The greatest king in the history of our nation was a shepherd. So there's been shepherds forever. And so throughout time, my profession has been a noble one until the children of Israel came back from captivity. When they came back, they stopped being a wandering people and started to being a cultivating people. They started growing crops and they started staying in one place. See, we're nomadic. We follow sheep all around, everywhere. They started staying home. And so what they did, they had a choice to make. They could either take care of their sheepfolds or they could hire it out. And you could get a shepherd for hire. That's what I am. So you have shepherds for hire, you have owners of flocks, and we take care of them. My job, I follow sheep around all day. It's a pretty cool job. It's not hard. It's hot in the summer, it's cold in the winter. Sheep are hard-headed, but it's still a good job. There are a couple of different kinds of shepherds. There are those that own their own flock. There are people like me. And then there are priestly shepherds. And these are the shepherds that are got it made. These are the upper class shepherds. These are the ones that only tend the flock around the temple for sacrificial animals. Now they up a scale. They highfalutin. They're not like us, okay? Let me tell you, when I first started, it was good. Because if you made it to Jerusalem for the sacrifice and you didn't have a sacrifice, they'd sell you one. That was pretty good. Until my day, and now it's corrupt because most of those sheep are not as good as mine, and most of them, they overcharge and rip you off. So you didn't hear that from me. But that's the truth. Now let me tell you about the statue of a shepherd in Jerusalem and in Israel in my day, okay? Most people don't like shepherds. We smell like sheep. We're not welcome in town. We're not allowed in the synagogue. We can't vote. We can't sit on the trial. We're basically the lowest class people in the nation in my day. We don't have any rights whatsoever. We don't like to go to town. The town don't like us, so we stay out. We're not low class. We're just no class. We're somewhere on the scale between tax collector and used camel salesman, and it's pretty bad, okay? We're pretty low. They don't like us. In fact, if you were in my country, I wouldn't be welcomed in here. They wouldn't let me in. I can't go worship. I don't know anything about religious. I don't do that religious thing. Yeah, that's a big waste of time. You know, I go out to the field, take care of my flock. I ain't worried about that stuff. It's just not important to us. We're nomadic people. We wander around. We usually stay in the fields from late summer till early winter continuously. And the reason we do that is because when they cut their fields, they're instructed by the Mosaic law to leave the corners. They don't cut the corners. The poor people come in and glean all the goods they can get out of the field. That's how they eat. And then when they get finished, they turn the fields over to us, to our shepherds. And we take our flocks into the fields and we graze them. If that's good grazing. And then when that finishes, we have to move on to greener pastures. My job entails taking care of the sheep. That means making sure they get green food and still waters and that they're tended for and watched out for. What is the equipment of the shepherd? What do I have? What are my tools of the trade, if you will? Well, most shepherds, they have some sort of knife because we have to tend the sheep. We also use it for protection. We have usually a little bag with our lunch for the day because we wander from our nomadic tribes. And usually we're tribes. Usually we travel in tribes. We've got our whole clan that goes with us normally because we start our kids young, teaching them how to take care of sheep. Been doing it my whole life, so I know how to do it. And then, you know, we have a knife. We usually have some kind of protection The sling is real popular, and most shepherds are really good with a sling. Sometimes you use your knife, but you still have a way of protection. And then there's not a shepherd on the face of the earth that would go spend the night in the field without his staff. You got to understand, the staff is the most important thing that we have because it's a multiple use tool. See, this is for protection. There's been many times I've run off jackals, I've ran off mountain lions with my stick. So it's protection for the sheepfold. It's also correction. There's been many, and if you doze off, I'll tell you what. See, I can reach out with the hook, whoosh, and grab you, bring you up close. Let's get it. Come here. It's for correction, because some of our sheep are hard-headed. Do you believe that? We get a sheep every now and then that gets really hard-headed, and so I have to whack him really good to get him back in line. And by the way, PETA don't exist in our country, okay? So we can whack our sheep to keep them straight, and we do that occasionally. So it's protection. It's correction. And then it's a good friend. It's just a good stick. You know, you need a stick. So it's a good stick. It's a good friend to have. Now, let's talk about sheep a minute. I've spent my whole life wandering around behind sheep. They smell bad. They don't serve a whole lot of purpose in this world. But if I were to ask you what you think about a sheep or a goat, I only do sheep, I don't do goat. The goat farmers are lower than me, and that's pretty low. I don't do goat, I do sheep. Sheep are just a step up. What do you think about sheep? What do you think about goat? Yeah, I bet you, if you was honest, didn't want to hurt my feelings, you'd say sheep are dumb, right? Dumb animals that we just use for wool and meat. That's not true. Sheep are highly intelligent animals. And until we started thousands of years ago breeding and domesticating them, they did have horns that they could use to defend themselves. Now, in my day, they don't have horns, so they're defenseless. So I got a job. But they're incredibly intelligent animals. They like to be in groups. They don't like to be by themselves. They build tight-knit groups within the flock, and they get to know each other. Sheep get to know their shepherd's name. I know my sheep, and my shepherd know me. They listen to me, and they follow me. They will wander off. You do get a stubborn one every now and then. You have to watch them, but they're highly skilled. Now they are treasured in my country for 3 reasons. Number one, they're wool. Every clothing that we have in my country is made of wool that comes from sheep or goats. The second reason is for their milk. We make a lot of our dairy products from the milk of goats and sheep. And then the meat. The meat's kosher. That's that religious bunch up there. I don't know what that means, but they eat my meat, okay? They buy my lambs, they kill them, they eat them for sacrifices, whatever that stuff is. So they're highly prized. Let me tell you something else about sheep. Sheep like to eat. They eat all the time. They like a cow. They have several different stomachs. They eat. They chew their cud. They eat. They chew their cud. So they have to have a lot of green grass. And I know every patch in my area. I know every spot where there's a little bit of green grass that I can take my flock to. The second thing is they can't swim. Sheep can't swim. And if you think, my job is to fatten those sheep up, to get that wool as big as possible, so when I carry them in to get them sheared, the owner gets the biggest return on his investment. That's my job. That's what I do. So I want the wool to grow. So they're scared of water because they can't swim and they're covered in wool. Wool gets wet, they go down, they drown. So they get real afraid around water. So it's my job as their shepherd to get them to some still, quiet water where they can water it and not be afraid. So I know where all the watering spots is too. But you got to watch them, they will fall in. The hook on this staff is really good for that. To reach out and grab them and pull them back to safety. Reach over the side of the cliff and get them. But you know, the thing about it people don't realize about sheep is that they can climb mountains really, really well. A lot better than I can. And a lot of times I have to go get them and it's aggravating. So, sheep. Sheep just kind of like to wander around. They don't complain. They don't fuss. My job's fairly easy. I enjoy what I do. I get to be away from people. That's wonderful. I don't have to take a bath too often. That's good. It's good in summer, not so good in winter. I try to dress appropriately. It's hot, very hot in summertime. We enjoy what we do. Our family is invested in this lifestyle. It's a lifestyle. Now, the reason I came tonight is I wanted to tell you a story about one particular night out in the fields. It was a clear, early winter night. We were in one of the local fields. We were just chilling, hanging out. The day was done. Before I do it, let me tell you about my day. Can I tell you about my day? Here's how my day goes. I get up in the morning, I have breakfast, usually some cheese, maybe a little goat milk. And then you know what my first order of the day is? We have to count the sheep every single day. And my herds range from a few hundred to 1,000. That's kind of the size of my sheep. So every single morning, I got to count every single one of them. I've got to inspect every single one of them, because if they've got out there in the night and got hurt, I got to take care of them. That's my job. That's our job. So I have to take care of them. And then when we get all of that done, our day march begins to find food and water. That's our day. It's a wonderful one. Every day. Now, let me go back to the night I want to tell you about. There was this night, it was early winter. We were in one of the fields, close to home. And we have to have watches when you are a shepherd, because somebody has to watch the sheep all the time. You can't just go to bed and check on them in the morning. We keep a watch all night on them. And it was my watch that night. And the rest of the family, the clan, was getting ready to bed down. And I'm chilling out. Just cool, And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, y'all ain't going to believe this. Y'all really not going to believe this. Out of nowhere, there appeared this being in the sky. Now, like I said, I'm not religious. I don't believe in that junk, okay? I'm a shepherd. I'm a low life. But anyway, and I've lived my whole life on these fields, tending these sheep, fighting off predators day and night. I'm not scared of anything out there, y'all. Nothing. I've seen it all. I've dealt with it all. But that night, when I saw whatever that was in the sky, illuminating the whole horizon, I was afraid. And all of the other shepherds were afraid. We were petrified. We didn't know what was happening. You all believe that? I'm not crazy. I promise. We stood there in awe of what we were seeing. Somebody told us it was an angel later, but I don't know for sure what it was. I do know that the first words that came out of that being's mouth that night was, "Fear not." And we settled down. He brought peace. He told us that he had a great message for us. He said that night in the city of David, that there was going to be a Savior born, which was Christ the Lord. I don't know about that stuff, okay? I mean, hey, I grew up in Israel. I know the story. I know there's supposed to be a Messiah coming. I know we've heard that stuff our whole life. But, do I really buy into all that stuff? I don't know. But anyway, he says there's a Savior born tonight in the city of David. And then he tells us this. He says, "And this shall be a sign unto you," us. And I'm looking at these other guys like, us. "You shall find this babe wrapped up in some dirty rags, laying in a feed trough in a stable." I was like, nah. And then all of a sudden, that wasn't enough to scare us half out of our wits. Then there was a big, huge choir showed up. And they started singing and praising God, saying, "Glory to God at the highest. Joy to the world." I'm telling you, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know whether to run. I didn't know whether to I didn't know what was happening. I was scared to death. I just fell out on my face and worshiped. And this singing was like nothing I'd ever heard. And then, boom, in an instant it was gone. And it was black again. And it took us a minute, folks, to gather ourselves. Let me tell you something. I've been out there in the fields a long time. I've seen a whole lot of stuff. I've dealt with a whole lot of stuff. I have never witnessed anything like that. We didn't know what to do. We gathered ourselves and we didn't know what to do. And I said to guys, we got to go to Bethlehem. We got to see if this is true. We got to go. Nah. We had a council meeting amongst the shepherds. And we decided to go. So we left the young ones in charge. And we headed to Bethlehem. So we're making our track. And while we're making our track to Bethlehem, there were three mysteries that occurred to me that I couldn't understand. Not a religious guy. Never been inside the temple. Don't go to the synagogue. Don't understand Judaism. I'm a Jew, but I don't understand it. But there were three mysteries that I don't understand. The first mystery that I just couldn't wrap my mind around was, why did he come to us? Why did he tell us? We're out in the field. We're outcast. Folks, nobody likes us. Why did he tell us? That don't make sense. Second mystery I couldn't figure out was, why out of Bethlehem? Why in a stable? Why in a feed trough? Why? That don't make sense. If he's the Messiah, he should be up in Jerusalem. Ain't that where everything happens? That didn't make sense. And then the third mystery is, why now? Why this night? Why me? Why? I don't understand. Don't make sense. I just think it's a hoax. I don't think none of it's real. But I'm going to go find out, because I'm a skeptical Thomas shepherd. So I make my way. And we make our way pretty much in solitude to Bethlehem. Now, funny, when we get to Bethlehem, it's crowded, because you heard about the census, right? They're having this census thing going on. We don't ascribe to that stuff. Nobody cares about us. We don't have any money anyway, because they ain't going to get nothing out of us. But anyway, all the people that matter are in Bethlehem. It's crowded with people everywhere. And they don't like us being there. When we're walking down the street, they get on the other side. They're like whispering behind our backs, like, what are they doing in town? Oh my God! Who let them in town? We didn't care. We were on a mission. We smelled like sheep, but we didn't care. So anyway, one of the shepherds said, how are we going to know? How are we going to know? Well, I don't know. We'll figure it out. So we're going down the streets of Bethlehem, and we're looking, and we're trying to figure out what's going on. We don't understand. And all of a sudden, behind one of the ends, I see this little barn. And there's a little flicker of light. And I said, that's it. That's it. Come on, y'all. Let's go. And with haste, we get over there, we run over there, and we see what's going on. And I got to describe the scene, y'all. It's like nothing I've ever seen in my life. Ever seen in my life. There's a little girl. She's probably 12 years old. Okay? Beautiful. Has a peace on her that I cannot explain. There's a young man. He's a little bit older, but not much. Strong, stalwart. You can tell that he's a good-looking boy. But in the food trough, there lays a baby. I can't explain this to you. This baby. He was a normal baby. There was nothing unusual. But there was something special. You said that's an oxymoron. It's the truth. There was nothing that made him special other than he was special, and I knew it in my heart. And I just fell down to worship because I didn't know what else to do. We worshiped, all of us did. Before I left, I introduced myself to the young man. I found out his name was Joseph. Joseph told me the story. Y'all got to hear the story. Joseph told me a story about him and the little girl's name Mary. He said that Mary came to him and they were engaged to be married, but they hadn't yet. And she came to him with a story, and she told him that the Holy Spirit, that an angel had appeared to her and told her that the Holy Spirit was going to overshadow her, and that he was going to conceive in her something very special, and it was going to be the Son of God. His name was going to be Jesus, and she was going to be the one to bear him because she was righteous. And she goes to Joseph and she tells him this story, and Joseph said, that's more than I can take. Sounds like to me she's just unfaithful. And Joseph, being a good Jewish young man, understood the law, because he knows a lot more than I do. He understood the law, and he said, no, I could have had her stoned right there for unfaithfulness. Or I could have just put her away quietly and went on my way. And he said, as I pondered that story, he said, that's what I think I'll do. And he was pondering that story, and he drifted in, and he saw a vision, and an angel appeared to Joseph, and he said, Joseph, it's what is in Mary's of God. Take her as your wife. Don't you be with her physically after the baby's born. What is of her is holy, and you're going to be his father. And you know what, Joseph, that little Jewish boy who was just a boy, you know what he did? Y'all know what he did? You ain't going to believe what he did. You know what he did? He did exactly what the angel told him. He takes her as his wife. He makes a home for her. Wow. He told me the story about her going to see her cousin Elizabeth and telling her how her baby in her womb leaped. It's kind of cool. But anyway, Joseph's telling the story. Then he tells about Caesar with this decree about the taxes, and you got to go back to your home. Now, they live in Nazareth, okay? That's where they grew up. That's where they live. They live close to each other. It's 90 miles from Nazareth to Bethlehem. And they didn't have a taxi cab. They didn't have a truck. They didn't have a car, SUV. So Joseph told me the dilemma that he found himself, because his dad, he's from the lineage of David. He had to go to Bethlehem to pay his taxes. He didn't know what to do. Mary was almost ready to deliver. She's big. She's uncomfortable. She's kind of hard to get along with, like women get, you know. So he don't know what to do. So he says, all I could do was I put her up on a donkey, and we headed out, and we walked the 90 miles from Nazareth to Jerusalem. That's a long way, folks, to go over some very tough and difficult terrain. And so Joseph's telling me he finally, after this long, exhausting, probably 4 or 5 day trip, he makes it into Bethlehem. He sees where he's going. He's relieved. He's going to make it before she gives birth. Everything's going to be okay. It's going to be good now. So he gets there and he starts going around looking for a room, and there is none. And all of a sudden he starts to panic. He's got his wife, 9 months pregnant, on this donkey, and she's about to give birth, and he ain't got anywhere to go. He's like, oh my God, what am I going to do? He goes from end to end, and he gets a shut door in his face. And, sorry, son, we'll have nothing. He didn't know what to do. He didn't have a clue. And he told me the last place, the last stop before he gave up, the innkeeper told him, I don't have a room, son, but I got a barn out back, and you're welcome to it. If you want to use it, you're welcome to it. Joseph said I didn't have any choice. He told me how he went out there and he moved the animals to one side and he cleaned it out and he made the hay as soft as possible and he took all the rags that he bought and made Mary a bed and he got her situated just in time before she gave birth. She gave birth in that barn. He took the baby and he had some old clothes that he brought with him, just rags basically, and they wrapped the baby up tight. And he'd taken that food trough that the animals ate out and he cleaned it out the very best he could. He put some hay in that little baby and he laid him in that manger and he thanked God for the opportunity. He thanked God for the place. And I'm sitting there thinking, while he's telling me this story, standing in this table going, why would God, if this is true, why would God send his son like this? This is a strange way for God to send his Messiah. I just don't get it. Now, like I said, I'm not a priest. I ain't never been in the temple. They won't let me within 8 miles of the temple. I don't get to go to synagogue. I don't understand this stuff. But I just really don't get this, y'all. I don't understand. But anyway, he lays the baby in the manger. And Mary's resting. And then we show up. He's like us. He don't understand why it's us. He don't get it. We stay a little while. And you know what we do? We leave there rejoicing. Telling everybody, people that wouldn't even look at us, we were telling them about the story of what we had seen. Because we were excited. We were happy. And on the way back to the field, I began to think about those 3 mysteries I told you about earlier. Why would God send that message to us? Nasty, stinky, low-life shepherds. And by the way, can I stick in something right here? Y'all make way too much out of this. Man, I saw something lit up on the side of a house on the way here. What? Y'all don't understand the way it is. Man, we are nothing. I mean, we're like, you think of the lowest person you can imagine in your brain, and we're below that, okay? And y'all, that's weird. That's weird. But anyway, back to the mystery. The 3 mysteries. 1, why did God send this message through us and not the priest? I think I figured it out. I think God wanted us to know that if this is his son, he's coming to save everybody. That there's nobody that's too low on the scale that God can't reach. You see, them folks in the temple would have expected it. The priests would have expected it. They were righteous. We're not. So I think what God was telling the people by telling us shepherds is this: I can save anyone. Me. The lowly shepherd. Don't have anything, don't need anything, just worthless. But God is saying, I'm sending my son for you. So some folks, all of you with your fine clothes and your nice life, God saves you. But he also saves us lowly shepherds in the field. That's why he said it does. So there's nobody that can come and say, God can't save me because where I've been, because nothing you've done is as bad as what I've done. Nobody feels as bad toward you as they do me. God can save us all. The second mystery is why Bethlehem and why a manger. Well, I began to think about that, and I do remember from a child that Bethlehem means house of bread. God was sending the bread of life to a hungry humanity. And I began to think about why in that stable. Why not up there in Jerusalem? Why was he laying in a feed trough? Because this baby was common. He's God wrapped in flesh, but God wanted us to see his humanity that night. He wanted us to see that in that stable, he's ripped all of the robes of royalty away, and he is in the flesh. That's why he sent him to a stable. He didn't want us to see him as King of Kings. He wanted us to see him as Son of Man. He wanted us to see him as he really was. You see, Jesus could have stepped through time and eternity as God, but he chose to come through a vehicle of a virgin's womb in the flesh so he could identify with us. You see, he come as low as he could come. They laid him in the manger. Why now? I don't fully understand the timing, but I do understand that it says when the fullness of time had come, God sent his Son. It was God's time. It was time to save the world. It was time to begin a process that would take care of sin of mankind. You know, and I heard about this man later. We ventured into Jerusalem one time. It was not good. Okay, they don't like us there. But we basically were selling sheep for the Passover. Don't tell nobody because I could get in trouble. I could lose my shepherd's license. But I was selling sheep for the Passover. You know, we were hanging out. It was crowded and a lot of stuff going on. And we were kind of selling sheep on the black market. Some friends of mine were. I didn't sell any. But anyway, we heard about this young man. This guy had lived his life. He had raised the dead and healed the sick and walked on the water. We heard all these wonderful stories about this guy. And we heard that the Jewish people had turned on him. And that they had him and they were trying him. And that it looked like he might get crucified. And you know, that day my mind went back to that barn and that stable when I saw that little baby. My mind went back and I heard the teachings of this young man that was on trial. And I heard that he said that he was the good shepherd. You know what? That made me feel good because I think he used us as an example. Us as shepherd. But I heard he was on trial to be crucified. We kind of hung around to the next day. The next day was Sunday. That was the day after Passover, so we could kind of move around a little bit. We hung around and we heard that he was crucified, that he died on the cross. This wonderful man that never hurt anybody. But there was a weird twist to the end of this story that I ain't sure. I heard he rose from the dead. Could it be that that's that same baby that I saw that night in Bethlehem? Could it be? No, folks, it was. You know what? I'm not religious, but I am saved. I believe that he came, he died, and he rose, and I'm a saved shepherd now. Let me tell you something, folks. The reason I do this is because I want you to understand Christmas is not about the shepherds. It's not about the sheep. It's not about Mary and Joseph and those wise men. That y'all made way too much of them wise men too. Let me tell you the story. They're not all that, okay? They really are not. And they were 2 years late. They didn't show up for 2 years. They saw the star that night, but it took them 2 years. Like, sure, yeah, they come in brassy with all their little gifts and everything. Yeah, that was cool. We didn't have nothing, but they did. But anyway, it ain't about the wise men. It's about Jesus. I want you to understand, through the eyes of a simple shepherd, what he saw that night was the birth of the King, the beginning of salvation, the end of sin, the birth of a new day. I want you to see Christmas different this year. Don't just see it as a time we spend with family, which is important. Don't just see it as giving gifts, which is important. But see it as about the birth of Jesus Christ, that he began his journey that would redeem back all of humanity. He would save us all. That was the message that we went to tell, that Jesus has come into the world and he saves us all. And I believe that tonight, folks. I believe that he's going to save us. This story is true. You may not believe it. It's okay, because I've been called crazy before. I've been called nuts. I've been run out of towns, and I've been rocks thrown at me. People don't like shepherds. But this is a true story. I saw the angels. I heard the choir. I saw the baby in the manger. I touched his cheek. I heard Mary's voice. I hugged Joseph before I left. I saw it, folks. It was real. I heard the story of his death, his crucifixion, and I believe he rose from the dead. Boy, that's what it's about. I can get excited about sheep. I really do get excited about sheep, but I can really get excited about what Jesus has done for us. Make your Christmas special this year. Well, I got to get back to the flocks because it's almost time for my watch to begin, and they're going to stone me if I'm not there in time. You know, I got a big clan. We all group together, so it's easier. If you got 1,000 head of sheep, it takes several of us to keep watch on them, because them little creatures will run off on you. They get hard-headed sometimes. I'll tell you a story real quick about a little lamb that I had one time that would not listen. He was hard-headed. He was strong-willed. He kept getting himself in trouble. So you know what I had to do? I had to break his leg. He said, "That's cruel, shepherd." No, it's not. It's better for me to break his leg, tend it, and get him healed up and him stay in the flock than for him to get out there and get eaten up by a wolf. Right?
Right.
So when God breaks your leg, understand He's doing it for your good. Make your Christmas special, okay? Realize it's about Jesus. Jesus is Lord. Thank you, guys. Thank you for letting me come. If you're ever over in Palestine, look me up. I'll show you my sheep. Pastor Matt, thank you, brother.